Badger fans are wrong, and I'm going to tell you why.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making this one of your first listens. I really do appreciate you. Today's episode, we are talking about some takes that I think Badger fans are wrong on. Football and basketball. We have a fun guest coming on. Has been on the show a couple times. We're talking basketball concerns and some over-unders on the football side. Let's bring in Cannon. Cannon hasn't been on the show in a minute, man. Cannon, I'm excited for this first topic because I have no idea what yours are. I call these island takes where you're on an island and all the Badger fans, or most of them, are on a separate island. I'm going to give you my first one. This is where I think Badger fans have forgotten how good Johnny Davis is. Because I put a poll up the other day, and this is the second type of poll I put up comparing Johnny Davis to John Tonje. And I said, who would win one-on-one, Davis or Tonje? 65-70% of Badger fans said Tonje. Previously, I said, who's the better Badger? Like, who is better at Wisconsin, Davis or Tonje? Again, the vast majority of Badger fans said Tonje. I think people have forgotten how good Johnny Davis was. I think it's recency. I think it's John Tonje was awesome. None of this is to say John Tonje wasn't great. But, bro, Davis's Badger team, he had less around him. He had a higher workload. He was a better defender, a better rebounder. They went just as far in March. They won a share of the Big Ten title, and that Big Ten had Purdue's Jaden Ivey team. I'm telling you, people have forgotten how good Johnny Davis is, man. That's my first take that Badger fans are wrong on.
I would also agree. I think Johnny Davis is, well, for one, I'm from Omaha, so Tonje kind of hits close to home.
Got you.
But I would agree. I think Davis is definitely a better all-around player. He's a better defender. I think where people get it mixed up a little bit is Tonje is definitely, in my opinion, a better offensively skilled player. He's better on the offensive end. I feel like he's definitely a better shooter, a better pure shooter. And he's just a bigger body. He's a grown man. I feel like when he wanted to go to the paint and wanted to drive to the paint, he could get to the paint and draw a foul or finish at the rim basically whenever the hell he wanted to. Now, he didn't really have much of a mid-range game, which I think that's where Johnny Davis kind of sets himself apart. Is Johnny could score at all three levels. Tonje, not as much. He doesn't really have a mid-range game. And Davis is by far and away a better defender. I mean, Davis was tasked with being the number one scoring option and guarding the other team's number one player. I mean, he guarded Jaden Ivey, for Christ's sake, who's one of the better athletes in the Big Ten in a long time. So I get what you're saying, and I get what they're saying, but I agree with you. I don't think Tonje is better than Davis. I think people get that a little twisted. Now, as far as them playing one-on-one, I don't know. Because
Davis beat him.
I feel like Davis maybe will beat him, but I don't know. The Wizards kind of ruined him, man. He kind of sucks now.
Well, I'm talking, so just to be, and that's a fair point. I'm talking when at their peak of their Badger career. So when he came out as a sophomore, Davis versus Tonje, he's coming out now. Not the Wizards ruined my guy, but I love Tonje. You're right. Tonje's a better shooter. I think Davis, man, he averaged 19 per game, All-American, Big Ten Player of the Year. That team won a share of the conference title, and he led the Big Ten in defensive rebounding as a 2. He was just a total dog.
I guess another thing I should say is I think people are comparing the seasons. Like, in my opinion, I think Tonje had probably the best single season probably in Badger history. And you could say Frank Kaminsky, you could say whatever, but Frank Kaminsky scored like 19 more points, and he had like 3 extra games to do it. So
now I'll say this: you're a young buck. Like I'm not that I'm an old head.
I didn't get to watch Michael Finley. I didn't get to watch. I was going to say
you could go back to Finley or Devin Harris here.
I didn't get to watch those, but as far as I've seen, he probably had the best single season that I've ever seen. So maybe they're comparing the seasons and saying Tonje is better because of the season that they've had, but I don't think Tonje is a better all-around player.
All right, yeah, we're on the same boat there. Give me your first island take, something that you think most Badger fans are wrong on.
I think majority of Badger fans are wrong on road. I don't think he's as good as people think he is. People have hyped him up to be great, and they're glad that they got him. And I think he's a good depth piece, but I don't think he could be your starter. I just don't think he can be. I think on defensive end, I know you're a big synergy guy, and you the synergy stats say that he's an okay defender, but I mean, I've watched Virginia basketball. He's just not a good one-on-one defender. And I think with how the Big Ten is structured, the best players are going to be the wings. That's how it's going to usually be. It's either going to be the bigs or the wings outside of like Purdue with Braden Smith. But they're going to they're going to pick on him. They're going to set ISO plays up to where they have people to one side of the court and just say, beat Rode. I know you're better than him. And I think Rhode's an okay defender in a system. Like, that's how I was at Virginia. He had a good system and he could defend as a team. But one-on-one, he's just not. And offensively, I think he's an above average passer. He's a pretty good passer. But I don't think I don't think he's not much of a shot creator. He can't go out and get his own shot. And from what the numbers that I've seen, he's a horrible finisher inside. Like, terrible. He doesn't finish well inside. Good shooter, but I just think people are too high on him. I think they need to come down.
So let me ask you this. If I said I think he's a solid piece that fits really well into the system, because I think that's what he is. I don't think he's great, but I think he's a solid piece that fits really well into the system, a system that's going to be predicated on space, on passing, on shooting. And then defensively, he comes from Virginia, where he's got to at least be solid in a team setting. Is that overvaluing it? Because you said you don't think he can start. He's going to start. So what does that mean for the Badgers?
That's not overvaluing to me. To me, that's about what he is. He's a good system piece. He fits our system. My point is, people are making him out to be some bona fide number 2 or an above average player, which I don't think he is. I just don't think he is. I think the only elite home run get that we've gotten in the portal is Boyd. I think he's an elite player. He's a great player. He has Final Four experience. He started almost everywhere he's went. Just Rode isn't himself. I don't think he's as good as people are making him out to be. And yes, he's a good system piece. And yes, he is going to start. As much as I don't like it, he's going to start. I just don't think he's as good as people make him out to be.
I think it's fair. Listen, I think that's fair. I think it's fair to have some concerns there. I almost wonder if it's a bit of a force multiplier when you have multiple really strong passing, shooting options on offense, where now you can get a defense to really scramble. Defensively, I worry about this team anyway. Like, this team wasn't good defensively last year, and I don't know if they're better, man. Like, I don't know if they're any better, and that terrifies me, because I think a couple of your defensive anchors last year were Crowell or Gilmore. Those guys are gone, and Boyd is okay defensively. Rodeo is okay defensively. I don't know if they're any better than last year, man. And that worries me.
We got worse. We're getting worse, because as Tonje wasn't the greatest defender either, but he could at least make up for some things with his athleticism. He had some athleticism that he could make up for it. And like, we don't have a piece this year. I don't know if you remember last year, but when we played Minnesota and they had Garcia, we don't have a piece this year that could match up with Garcia. Like, Gilmore struggled a little bit, and then we had Amos, which was that prototypical kind of like 4-ish, 3-4, where he could match up decent with him, and he did a good job on him. And we don't have that tweener 4-5 that can match up with we had Gilmore for that last year, that tweener 4-5 that he can match up and go out to the perimeter a little bit. I don't think Rapp or Winter are able to do that. Winter's a little bigger. He's more of a 5, but he can't really guard the bigger 5s. And Rapp's a 4-5, but I don't think he can slide out and guard the 4s. So we're kind of just – we might just suck this year on defense. We might need to win every game by like 120 to 110.
Man, Cannon bringing some pessimism here. I love it, though. I love the dialogue. We're going to go back and talk some more basketball concerns. I have some concerns about depth, but also the football spot where I think Badger fans are wrong on. I'm going to see if Can's got one of those. Plus, we got over-unders coming up. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at FanDuel. FanDuel is incredible. Obviously, NBA playoffs are going on right now. If you've been watching that, this has been some of the best playoff basketball I've seen in a long time. With some of the comebacks and the epic plays, FanDuel's got you covered on that. Plus, Major League Baseball's going on right now. I love betting Major League Baseball over on FanDuel. They got you covered. Every parlay, spread, teaser, future is all there in a user interface that's not overly complicated. We live in a time where things are complicated. FanDuel makes it easy. It makes it easy to spice up your weekend, spice up your sports event. Plus, when you win, I've mentioned this before, you get your money when you win, like it should be. It's not complicated. It doesn't feel like you're pulling teeth out of something. You're just getting what you're supposed to get. Painless, simple, efficient. It is the best place for all your sports betting over at FanDuel.com. Spice up your weekend as always. If you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to jump in. If you head over there and sign up, place your first $5 bet. If you win that, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel.com, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, let's jump back into this. I'm going to give you my Ken, do you have a football one where you think people are off on?
This is more predicated to what I've saw on one of your shows about with you and I think Justin, and you were talking about the offensive line and how you think Billy Edwards is going to be able to, make up for some of the with Kevin Hayward getting injured, maybe some getting out of some sacks. And I might push back a little bit on that because I don't know if Billy Edwards is as much of a improviser as he is like a good scrambling quarterback where he can pick up, 6-7 yards to get a first down. I don't think if the pocket collapses, he's going to be able to improvise like somebody like Russell Wilson. He could make up for a bad offensive line with the way he improvised in the pocket and could slide out and find somebody. I think Billy Edwards is going to be good for, he'll escape up in the middle of the pocket and he'll pick up a big first down. But I don't know if he's going to be able to make up for the lack of our offensive line because that's my issue with without Kevin Hayward, and not picking up a stout tackle in the portal. I don't know how our offensive line is going to be. It's kind of the big question mark that I have with our team. I'm pretty comfortable with everywhere else except our offensive line. That's a pretty big question mark to have. So I'm going to push back on that take by you and him a little bit because I don't know if he's that type of scrambling mold of a quarterback.
No, I love that. I actually think that's a really good take because you look back at Maryland's offense line. When people look at last year's Billy Edwards season, they caveat it with the fact that he had a bad offensive line. Well, if Billy Edwards is the type of guy that can make a bad offensive line look okay, then it shouldn't have impacted him that as much as it did. I think it's a really good point because one of the things we talked about last year with Tyler Van Dyke is Tyler Van Dyke, when he got going straight, was actually pretty fast, but he wasn't able to move in the pocket, right? It was like start and stop. That's it. I think Billy Edwards is more of a runner. I think he is less of I'm going to make a defensive end miss, stay in the pocket, keep my composure, make the reads. I think you're probably correct on that. I really do. And I think Billy coming over, one of the things I talked to Locked On Maryland's guy, he talked a little bit about the decision-making can get a little suspect when the bullets start flying. That's one of the knocks on Edwards. So I actually think that's a pretty good take. I like that one. Let me give you my football one. And if you saw the face up there on my screen when I went to the ad break, it's Gary Andersen. Badger fans are way too hard on Gary Andersen. Well, all Gary Andersen was come in for like 2 years, bring in Dave Aranda, change our defense from kind of a mediocre 4-3 to an elite 3-4, which lasted for like 8 years after he left. He recruited pretty well. He made it to the Big Ten title game. He beat the rivals that he was supposed to be. He kept the trophy case full. And he brought in a lot of dudes that Paul Chryst ended up winning with. And people hate Gary Andersen. They consider him a disaster of a hire. Was he a good long-term fit? No. Did he kind of set up Paul Chryst for a lot of success? Yeah, he kind of did.
He did. He basically built the blueprint for Chryst to have such success. That's kind of how I see it. I don't know why people hate him so much. Like, I don't get it.
Hate him.
It was like a stepping stone for Wisconsin. He basically built the blueprint and then gave it to Paul Chryst and said, "Here, you use this." And Paul Chryst did. And as much as flack as people give Paul Chryst had one of the better, most successful careers as a Badger head coach. I mean, he made it to the Big Ten title game twice. He put several people into the NFL that are bona fide stars now.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the defense, they have Van Ginkel, I mean, TJ Watt, like Jonathan Taylor on offense. Like, I don't know why people hate him so much, but he really did set up a blueprint, and he got us a lot of he set the blueprint for Christ to get Badger players that we all know and love now.
Yeah, I mean, your final game is that 59-0 Ohio State game, which I watched the entirety of that. I felt like I had to. It was terrible. But if you look at his overall record, he did really well, Wisconsin. And again, I don't think you have that defense without him. He's the guy that brought in an Aranda.
I'll push back. I think that Ohio State team was just more talented than us, and we just couldn't match up. We just couldn't. And people want to say we competed more. I'm like, what do you want us to do? I mean, we just couldn't match up with them. It was just a bad matchup for us, and it was something that we just had to take in the chin.
Yeah, that Ohio State team was on a mission too, if you remember at that time. Incredibly loaded. Wisconsin was a little banged up. You still can't lose 59-0. Like
I'm not saying you can. I'm just
like, I hear you on your point, but you still can't. You can't do that.
I think our 2 years that we probably should have in 2017, 2018 when we went to the Big Ten title game and played Ohio State back to back. We can't forget about the choke against Penn State. That's pretty stupid. We should have won that game. But the 2 years when we played Ohio State were probably our two best chances of making to the college football playoff or winning a Big Ten title game, because I thought we had Ohio State the 1 year. When we were up 14-0 right away, I was like, oh, we have it. We have it. Yeah. And then we couldn't hold on.
I've told you my Ohio State thing, though. Playing Ohio State is like building a dam against a river that just keeps building up. And you keep patching the dam, but eventually you just can't hold back the water. And every time we play them, it's just terrifying. All right, so those are our Badger takes. Guys, in the comments, let us know if you agree or disagree with those Island takes. I want to flip it back to basketball. And my biggest concern, so your biggest concern is kind of defensive. It's Rhodey at the 3. I just am terrified of our depth, man. I don't know who. It's really hard to make it through a season without injury, for starters. You know, it hasn't happened to most teams for a long time. What happens if you need to go to the depth? Who's your backup? Who's your backup 1? Who's your backup 3? Who's your backup 5?
So
dude, I don't know.
I'm also concerned about our depth, but I'm a little higher on maybe our 2 backup 5s in Greppy and Gerlach than a lot of people are. Like, I know I've said it on here before, like, I'm not expecting much of a backup 5. I'm expecting you to come in for maybe 8 to 10 minutes, grab some boards, and play okay defense. And I think Gerlach can do that. I think he's a legit 7-footer. He has a big, long wingspan, and he can go up and get boards. And that's all I want out of my backup 5. I'm not asking for 10 points out of you. Just get me 4 or 5 rebounds. Get me maybe a block, and maybe you can get some, scrape up 2 points. That's all I'm really asking for. And I think both Greppy and Gerlach can both do that. I think people are asking a little too much out of a backup 5. I think they got spoiled with Vogt. I think they did a little bit. That's not going to happen very often. I mean, it's just not. A couple years ago, Michigan had 2 starting caliber bigs with Reed coming off the bench, and he's starting for UConn. Like, that's never really ever going to happen. It's just really hard to do that. So
but can you get a middle ground, though, like where you're not – and maybe what it is timing. Maybe if we're talking about a Garlock that's a sophomore and a Greppy that's a junior, I feel better about it. But considering Garlock's coming in, he played a lot of 2-3 in high school, played a lot of zone, and he missed time with injury. I feel like he's more of a project. And I actually like him. Long term, I agree with you. I like his mobility. I like his size. I like his hands. But, man, that's asking a lot as a true freshman to come into the Big Ten after what he did in high school, getting hurt a little bit, playing a lot of zone. And then Greppy, we just didn't see anything last year. And again, a true freshman, but I think they're both just kind of question marks for me. But I hear you on Garlock's upside.
Now, I'm more concerned about the depth of the 3.
Right.
Like, we have Rhodey, which I already don't like him as a starter. But
who you
have after him? Is it Jack Robinson? Is it Janicki playing undersized at the 3?
Is it Carrington coming in? But he's undersized.
Maybe Carrington. Too. I mean, or Hayden Jones is a true freshman. I mean, that's pretty much what you have. I mean, I don't mind Carrington playing the 3, but he's undersized, and I don't know how he'll do against the more, natural 3s.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. I don't mind our 1 and 2 depth. I think that is not as big of a concern. I'm okay with how it is right now, but our 3 and especially our 4, like, whoever plays our 4, it's probably going to need to be Rapp. I'd assume it'd be our 4. who comes in after him? We don't have anybody there. There's literally nobody behind him. Maybe Jack Robinson comes in and plays an undersized 4.
That'd be super undersized 4.
But that's a 6'7" 4 guarding maybe 6'10", 6'9" 4s. I mean, you don't really have anybody after Rap. You just don't. So that's the 4 is probably the most concerned I am with depth.
All right, so I think you just answered the question, but if you could add one more body, not a star, not even but like a guy that you feel comfortable with 5 to 10 minutes a game at the 3, the 4, the 5, where would it be?
Probably the 4.
Yeah,
probably the 4.
The 4 could cover some of your 5 too. So I think front court in general, I think I agree with you because I think in an emergency you could slide Carrington down to the 3. You could play Kins more at the 2 to slide Carrington or Blackwell down to the 3. I think Kins is going to play this year.
Because what I think what they're going to end up doing, why I said a 4 is because what they did last year is when Crowd needed a breather, they slid Winter over to the 5, and then they brought in Amos at the 4. That's what I expect them to do. Is when one of them needs a breather, they'll slide one over. Like let's say Rat needs a breather, they'll slide Winter over to the 4, maybe bring in Greppy for 4 minutes, and then they'll alternate them out. That's what I think they do, and that's why I say 4 is probably the best because you can slide Rap and Winter interchangeable there. So.
And they did pick up Bialuskis. So that could be your backup 4 right there. But again, that's another question mark to your point.
True freshman.
Yeah. Coming overseas, he's got some Lithuanian. He's got to have probably a little bit of skill to him. I know he's pretty good rebounder. I saw some clips. He's 6'9"-ish. Like maybe he gives you something. But again, man, it's a lot to ask for a guy like that to be able to come in and play right away.
Very, very hard to come into the Big Ten and start day one.
Especially when you have like a Marcus Silver who had more physical tools, I think, and was never able. Like it's just a hard road, and you're not going to get a guy.
The last person I remember that come in, especially the 5. The 5 is that's a position that, unless you're a top-fledged 5-star number 1 or number 2, it's really hard to come in day one and start in any conference. The last person I remember coming as a true freshman and starting would be Chucky. I mean, he was our day 1 point guard when he came in.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't remember anybody coming and starting day 1. I mean, John Davis didn't even start at day 1. He just didn't.
Yeah. No, I hear you there. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with some over-unders with Cannon. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show and a quick second, as always, to say thank you for tuning into Locked On Badgers. Really do appreciate you. All right, let's get Cannon back on here. Cannon, let's talk a little over-unders football side. I think we each got a couple. I'm going to throw you my first one. My first over-under is, am I too high on Billy Edwards or too low? 2,700 passing yards and 20 touchdowns.
I think you're about right. I think you're right. I think it's a push. That's what I expect. I would expect him to be, 20 around the 2,700 range, give or take a little. And I expect him to be. Now, are you talking about 20 passing touchdowns or 20 total touchdowns?
20 passing touchdowns.
I think he'll probably have a little more because I think he'll provide a little bit more on the ground. So I'd say the total touchdowns around maybe 24 or 25. Okay. Passing touchdowns maybe around 18 to 20-ish. That's what I think. So I'd push on that.
Okay, I think we're in the same spot. Give me your first one.
So over under 20.5 team sacks this year.
20.5. I'm going to
defensive line sacks. I shouldn't say team sacks. From our defensive line, our front. Our front.
So it's a little wonky, right? Because it's a little bit how you categorize some guys like a Walker or Gardner. They're going to be kind of stand-up edge guys.
I count those.
I think I'm going to take under. I still think I think the defensive line, this is one of the things I think people have made. I don't want to say have gone overboard with. That's wrong. I think we've gotten more solid there. I don't know if we have any stars there. I think it's a solid defensive line now, a solid front 7. I think most of the linebackers are going to come from the Allegros, the Tackett's, the Cheeks, those type of guys. So I'm going to go under 20 on the D-line. How about you?
So I'm thinking over. I think we'll be slightly over. I expect us to have a little bit more production out there. And I think he's still a year away, but I can't remember who he brought in. His name was Jalen
Williams.
Jalen Williams.
Yes.
I think he can be a star. I think he's probably a year out from being like a bona fide star, but I think he could. in the future, he could be a 10 to 12 sack year kind of guy. He's elite, and I expect him to be there. So I think he'll even give you some production this year. And I think with all the pieces you have, I think we'll be able to get to over 20 and a half sacks. I hope so. But as you said before, just being more stout will help our defensive line. I think not having the one star and having everybody being, all solid across the board will help us, because the other team's not concerned about one person. So they have to worry about a lot of people. So maybe this person has the hot hand this day and they're tearing it up. Maybe this person's picking up the slack this day. They're the hot hand. So I'm going to go over, but I wanted to know where everybody else is on that.
Yeah, I hear you on that. This is one I've been getting in an argument with a couple people with. Justin a little bit, Curtis a little bit. I don't think us going to Michigan is particularly close. I think Michigan wins by 10 plus. Am I over or under in that number?
I don't think that game will be close really either.
So you agree with me? Okay.
I think we'll hang with them for maybe a quarter and a half. And I just, at the big house, that's not a game I want to particularly play in. I just don't. I think they probably win by 13, 17 points ish. So I'm maybe a little more than you think, but I don't know why they think that game is going to be so close.
Well, and I definitely want to speak for them. Like the wording I've gotten is it's like a 60-40 type game. So you win 40% of the time. I don't think we're at that level. And I definitely got to have them on the show so we can debate. But I'm curious where everyone else is. If I'm being too pessimistic or if they're being too optimistic, if the truth's in the middle. I just think even though that Michigan team only won 8 games last year and they have a changing of the guard, they still beat Ohio State last year. They still beat Bama last year. They're going to be at home.
I think maybe that's probably – I think I get where they're coming from. I think that's probably like easy – that's probably the easiest game out of the big stretch we have is at Michigan. And I'm a little higher on Iowa than a lot of other people are. So honestly, I honestly think Michigan will be an easier game than Iowa will be at Iowa. So that might be where they're coming from, but I don't think we win any of those games.
Oh, we get Iowa at home this year, right? Don't we?
We got Iowa at home?
Yeah, right. Because we went to
flip-flop that. Never mind. I thought we played at Iowa. I was like, I don't want to play at Iowa.
No, going to Iowa is terrible. We get Iowa at home because we went to Kinnick last year.
That's right. Okay. But I don't think we win any of those games. I think we go 0 for 5. I don't think we beat Alabama at Alabama. I don't think we beat Ohio State. I don't think we beat Oregon at Oregon. I don't think we beat Michigan at Michigan, and I don't think we beat Iowa. I just don't.
I think we get Iowa. I think we get Iowa at home, but I agree with you on the rest. I don't think we beat Michigan. I don't think we beat Oregon.
I'll push back. I still think to this day, I know you guys are high on Alabama. That's a tough place to play at Alabama. I still think Ohio State's our hardest game. I just do. Ohio State is more, in my opinion, Ohio State is more talented than Alabama. They are. I mean, look at their roster. Their roster is so ridiculous every year.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State's still our toughest game. I think we probably get 30 ball that game, 20 or 30 points, in my opinion.
So I actually think at Oregon is our toughest because it's at the end of that stretch. So you have to go through body blow Michigan, body blow Iowa, body blow Ohio State, and then go to Oregon. I think that's your toughest one.
I'm concerned with Oregon's quarterback. I don't know. I haven't seen him play. I'm talking about Dante Moore. I haven't seen him play yet, so I don't know how he's going to be. And I mean, I think Oregon was better last year, and although that game was at home, we are a not Braden Lott quarterback away from winning that game.
That's fair. That's fair.
Actually, we're not Braden Lott game from winning both that game and Penn State. Like,
I know. I'll say this though, and that's a good point. But this year you get Ohio State at home. And you remember 2 years ago against Ohio State, we were a decent quarterback performance from probably maybe winning that game against Ohio State. So I think just getting them at home matters, whereas going to Autzen is just tough. But I think you and I are pretty aligned that they're both meat grinder schedule.
How hype would you be if we go to Tuscaloosa and not win, but imagine like we get the ball first Jalen Ballard, 75 yards, touchdown. Oh my
Dude, I'm starting a podcast live right there. We'll go live right in that moment.
Dude, I would be so hype. I'm screaming.
Yeah, dude, I'll go live right in that moment.
And that's what I want us to do. I want us to, like, if we go out, get the coin toss, like, if I'm us, I'm like, give us the ball. I want to come out and try to smack them right in the mouth right away.
Like, I love it, dude.
Let's get a good play. Like, because if we go out on defense and they score right away, damn, that we're probably done right there.
Yeah, dude.
If we go out and punch him in the mouth, then we're like, okay, yeah, we got this.
It could have a similar feel to, you remember Vinny Anthony against USC. And obviously, that game went a certain way, but early in the game, you hit that deep pass, and it feels like, oh, we're in this. And USC is not the caliber as Alabama.
And we competed with them the rest of that game. We ended up losing, but I mean, that's how you beat teams that are better than you. Is you go out and you smack them right in the mouth, and you say, we're here to play, and everyone gets in the game. You start getting some big stops. That's how you beat teams that are better than you.
Dude, I love it. He is Cannon, though, man. I always get excited when I get Cannon on the show. For everybody tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of this community. Appreciate the absolute heck out of you. Hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend on Wisconsin, and we will definitely talk later.